Hi, your rock buddies. It's Papa. I hope you guys are doing great. Today I'm in a new place I have never been before, and I'm going to go through the process of finding out where I am geologically, which geological province I'm in, and looking for rocks and trying to figure out what's been going on here geologically based on the geologic province that I'm in and the rocks that I find. So come along with me. And as usual, if you like this video and it's helpful, please subscribe. And thanks so much to all you guys who have subscribed. Okay, so here we go. The game's afoot. Rock hunt is on. Okay, the first thing I did was I went to Google Maps, and it shows me with the little blue circle exactly where I am. Next, I went to this map showing the geologic provinces of Georgia and found out that my location was in the inner Piedmont geologic province. That map, by the way, comes from my book that you can find on Amazon Books, and I think it's probably worth the price because it's got some really good maps and excellent color photographs of most of the rocks of the eastern United States. Okay, rock buds, first I went to the Google Maps and found out exactly where in the state of Georgia I am. Number two, I went to a geologic map and found out that I was in the inner Piedmont geologic province of Georgia. Now I want to go to the digital interactive geologic map of Georgia and find out what rock types are shown here. This is an interactive geologic map put out by the United States Geologic Service. To get to it, I got on Google and I typed in Georgia Geologic Map Data, and it took me to a link to this particular map. I could have typed in any state geologic map data and it would have taken me to the same map. Okay, so I've kept narrowing my location down on this geologic map until I found out exactly where I was, right here. I pressed my finger on my location. It says that these are the rock types that I should be seeing: mica schist, gneiss, and amphibolite. So here's what these rocks ought to look like. This is mica schist. It's shiny because of the muscovite that's pressed down and flattened by metamorphism. Here's granite gneiss with quartz feldspar, biotite, and muscovite. And metamorphic pressure has caused these minerals to line up in these bands that are characteristic of gneiss. This is amphibolite. It's a dark mafic rock, and it's either going to be metamorphosed basalt lava or metamorphosed gabbro pluton or metamorphosed diabase pluton. Hey rock buds, so I walked all around the property looking for rocks, and I was very surprised because I didn't find any of the rocks that were listed on the geologic map. That often happens. So why don't we take a look at the rocks that I found and try to figure out what kind they are and what's going on. I found a lot of this stuff, these kind of rocks, and can you guess what they are? This is one that's cracked. Can you figure this out? If you said quartz vein rock or quartz float, you'd be exactly right. This is quartz silicon dioxide, and it started out its existence as a quartz vein in a crack in the host rock. That crack was created by tectonic pushing and shoving, and silicon-laden water got into the crack and laid down a layer of quartz. The crack got bigger, more quartz. The crack got bigger, more quartz, and you get huge quartz veins. The host rock weathered away, leaving piles of these broken up quartz hunks that geologists call quartz float. All this quartz vein rock is really resistant to weathering and erosion, so the host rock weathers away and the quartz just accumulates and accumulates It gets down into the creek beds and fills them up. And you can also find it, like I did here, in piles in the woods. That tells us that long ago a farmer pulled all these quartz rocks out of his field and made piles to get them away from his agricultural pursuits. But the cool thing about finding all this quartz rock is that it is a super duper clue. It tells me that we are in a region where metamorphism has occurred and metamorphic rocks are expected. That's pretty significant and useful. More about that later, but I want to show you the super excellent cool rock that I did find. So here's the only other rock type I found besides the quartz float rock. And when you look at it, you can tell it looks kind of dark. But never judge a rock by its cover. Always take a hammer and crack it open and see what it looks like on the inside. I cracked it open and this is what it looked like on the inside. Dark. But then I noticed the bottom right corner. This close-up is a little bit blurry, but it does show that what looks to be grains of sand maybe welded into a quartzite. I cracked open another piece and yeah, there's a lot of sandstone / quartzite here. But what is all this really blue black stuff mixed in with the quartzite? Time to do some rock testing. Okay, rock buds, this looks like a iron-rich quartzite. You could call it hematite quartzite or magnetite quartzite. And you can see the quartzite part of it. And this, I believe, is very iron-rich material. I'm going to test it for iron with just a regular old hydrogen peroxide. If it fizzes, that means that the iron is being oxidized by the hydrogen peroxide, which is a super powerful oxidizing agent. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, see the fizzing? That's a sign that all this black stuff is really super iron rich. Isn't that cool? Let's pour some on what I think is the quartzite part and see if it fizzes. It might. No, it doesn't really fizz, but back to the iron part, it's fizzing like anything. So that's a good sign that is iron rich. Okay, so now same rock, and we know it's chock full of iron. What we want to know, is this iron hematite or is it magnetite? If it's magnetite, then it's very possible that a magnet might stick to it. So I've got a magnet here, and you can get these on Amazon by the dozen. And let's just see. And it looks like it does not want to stick to the magnet at all. So I would say my conclusion is this is not magnetite. It's the other form of iron called hematite, which is very common in the geologic strata. Rock buds, hematite is named for blood hemoglobin because blood hemoglobin is reddish, brownish, and full of iron, and so is hematite. And by the way, there are three main forms of iron that we find out in nature in the rocks. There's hematite, magnetite, which sticks to a magnet, of course, and limonite, which often is associated with gold deposits and also bog iron of the ancient Iron Age people. Okay, rock buds, so what we have here is hematite quartzite. The quartzite started out its life as sand, and somehow huge amounts of hematite iron were pumped into that sand. The sand was compressed into the sedimentary rock sandstone, and then metamorphism occurred via plate tectonics, which turned the sandstone, the hematite-rich sandstone, into hematite-rich quartzite. Now, let's try to verify this by focusing on the Inner Piedmont Geologic Province and see if there was an environment there that could have produced this rock. Like we talked about earlier, we found out that our location was part of the inner Piedmont geologic terrain. Marked by the red line on this map, the inner Piedmont geologic terrain runs from eastern Alabama all the way up through Virginia and into southern Maryland. So let's look into the geologic history of the inner Piedmont geologic terrain. Geology tells us that the inner Piedmont geologic terrain was created during the tectonic mountain building event, the Taconic or Taconian orogeny, which began about 470 million years ago. At this time, subducting ocean crust created a volcanic island chain that ran from Virginia north through Maine and beyond. In this picture of the Taconic orogeny, the red arrow points to the volcanic tectonic islands that had volcanoes that were active and erupting tremendous amounts of all kinds of materials out into the surrounding oceans. Included tremendous amounts of iron that fell into the ocean and hot volcanic vents, superheated water that flowed through these sands and pumped them full of this iron to form this hematite sandstone, which was later metamorphosed into hematite-rich quartzite. And then you and I found it on the ground here. You may say, well, Papa, if the Taconic Island arc occurred from Virginia north and that became the inner Piedmont, what are they doing in Georgia? Very observant. What happened was, in the Acadian orogeny that followed the Taconic, a huge hunk of the Taconic Island arc broke loose from where it was attached from Virginia north and slid down to where we find it today as the inner Piedmont. It slid along an interesting and enigmatic fault called the Brevard Fault Zone. Hey guys, thanks for going rock hunting with me today. I think we had a great time, yeah? And we both learned a lot. And so, this is Papa saying have a fantastic day and happy rock hunting to you.